Hey guys, it's Julia Kaufman. I'm back at the basically EOS launch party, and it's amazing. And I have here Steve Floyd from EOS Tribe, another vlog producer. And Steve here is going to talk about really like how he started, how he feels, what emotions are running through him, and we'll just go from there. Hey Steve,
What's up?
Thanks for having him. Thanks for
having me out.
Having me out. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. So basically, EOS Tribe was the amalgamation of EOS Dallas and EOS SLC. It's my partner Eugene Luskin and myself were running meetup groups, and we had some BP candidates who had started back in October through January timeframe. Anyone that you can place in that time period, you can imagine some people that reached out either to help or join efforts, and we started to ask the question, why don't we just do our own thing? And that was kind of started to shape the idea of a smaller tribe rather than either a larger, 8, 10 in the West to even a 20-person operation like we're seeing in BPs. And we thought that because of our skill sets, we could actually do the jobs with just a little bit of help of a maybe much larger organization, and then augment community through culture. So it's something that we believed in the West, being a guy from startup culture in Dallas and being an entrepreneur myself, I started to ask the question of how are we, adding value to blockchain in general? How are we actually, what are the projects and the protocols that actually are going to shape the future, and deliver on some of this promise? And as we had those debates, and the idea of this smaller kind of thing, we came up with EOS Tribe. And we always thought that it's kind of also a joke that, crypto is so tribal anyways, and when you add politics like this, we just thought it was funny. It was like,
how'd the name come about? Was there, you're sitting in the backyard?
It's a combination of beliefs.
Okay.
We have a lot of crazy beliefs. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we're a little out there in terms of what we think is possible with humanity. Maybe if you could look at maybe Elion, that's the kind of, we believe we have the potential to leave this planet, to free ourselves from, a debt cycle and all over the world. We can have a more fair, equitable world. Shout out to Rodrigo for really delivering that message concisely. If I ever borrow, I don't bite. So got to give props to the originator of that particular phrase. But definitely that's, that's like kind of the foundations of how that conversation started. And that led us to, discovering in the space that a lean model might actually be better for investing in the dApps out there. So if you're a dApp, come to me and Eugene. I'm a UX guy. I'm a vetted, legitimate UX guy. You know what I'm saying? I know how to design stuff. I know how to think about design in a way that might be very, helpful to accelerate your idea. You know what I mean? And then besides usability and user acquisition, because I'm also kind of a self-taught marketer. I've been doing it about 12, 15 years to grow my own agency. And that's, if anyone knows some of the companies that I'd done originally, Penguin, Axiom, not huge, massive companies, but I did okay. I did it myself, and failure, years of failure.
Yeah, 3 decades of experience.
Years of failure, you know what I'm saying, in
failure
business.
Leads to success.
And that's that kind of a approach to, how you might grow your dApp is one part of it. But then you also have the tech. And that's a big part of what Eugene does. He looks at security very, very seriously. That's always the first thing that he starts with. And then he builds out the stack kind of according to what you specifically as a decentralized application, or maybe you're an application developer that's trying to go build a new application on the blockchain. That's kind of a good combination. And when we saw that, that's where we were like, okay, we could use the BP model to basically create an incubator, which some other BPs are doing. Many are talking about that, but in an incentive model that would, and we're going to release some of this stuff in the coming months, but that would drive what we believe is true culture. You know what I'm saying? And we're considering DAX with actual applications. Those are, we are personally as a BP not going to be a decentralized, autonomous community like others, but we are looking at possibly, helping and even, possibly funding DAX if there's not an overlap, you know what I mean? And as well as dApps. So those are kind of an overview of what motivated us And we realized with our skill sets that we could start something possibly. The other side of that is just, like I said, like culture, like, you know, why do you do it? You know what I mean? Like, why are, and also, is it actually a good business model? Is it even,
what do you think?
Are the tokenomics, well, that's what I mean. If you came through an accelerator, you know, or incubator model in traditional startup culture, the incentives really aren't aligned with VC like they were. You know, they're giving a very small amount of money, and people know this in the Valley, and they're asking for a lot of the stake. You know, they want a big percentage, and it's like Shark Tank, you know, like. But if you look at decentralized applications and building on the blockchain, there's a lot of incentive to build out tokenomics for a application, find utility within it, and then to actually, you know, use that incentive model to drive your community and even give the tokens away. Like, that's kind of the ICO 2.0 model right now, is people are actually, you know, doing airdrops and airdropping on token holders on a platform, particularly EOS. EOS is a really great platform that's getting a lot of traction in that space right now. And they actually, what I love the most is it subverts the traditional ICO. You know, not that if you were doing a share drop model, there might be some regulation potentially, but if you just completely give the tokens away and you file it right, it's kind of tough for, you know, tougher for the people that don't want this to succeed to actually, does that make sense?
I want to bring it back to, like, though you've been working for like 6 months, 6 months is like.
As a block producer, my first
longer.
Candidacy was in January.
Okay.
At the end of January, early February, where I was, you know, as EOS Dallas, and the same for Eugene and EOS SLC.
Okay, so 6 months, right? You've been like, this is your baby, right? You've been like building community, you've hired people.
But then back in, I believe, the end of February, April timeframe is when we started to form EOS Tribe. And we were initially, that's why I was kind of talking about that ecosystem, because that's like such an important part of it, you know?
Like, you've immersed yourself, right? And then here we are.
You want the feeling. You want to know, like, okay, leading up to this, that's all great.
But I mean,
people don't care about dApps or the model.
No,
they want to know, what are you feeling like right
they
now?
do, but it's both. You know, I think they
feel
want to know both. You know, I think they want to know, like, what led, how did you even get there, right? How did you get to EOS Tribe? You know, what led to that? What actions did you take? What
career-wise, or like what was I going on before this, or just as a person?
No, but I mean, I guess I'm trying to get at, like, I feel like you've sort of painted this narrative of all your experiences and how you got involved into EOS. But now we're at a time, I feel like, where, you know,
it's all about execution for the token holders, of course.
But now you have the chance to do that, right? You didn't have that chance a few days ago, and I feel like now, you know, what's going through your mind? Like, what's the next steps?
For us, we need to get through the voting cycle and see who the elected, you know, block producers really are. And if we place in that, if we're fortunate enough to have enough token holders who believe in our capabilities, and they understand that we're competent and that we're very serious about what we do, we try to be cool about it and laid back, but, you know, we're very technical people, and we know how to make stuff work. So if that works out, then, you know, my first move, or what we would do in the community, we would probably put resources towards a lot of education. The next, like, probably 8 to 12 months would be one of our biggest initiatives, and coming up with, like, free tools and resources that would better serve developers to help drive adoption.
Okay, and what else? Can you go over some, like,
so, like, UX frameworks? One of the guys from UC Berkeley that I'm talking to, you know, basically we're very interested in trying to put up a big initiative to create a blockchain, you know, UX framework, you know, like an entire suite of icon sets, and, you know what I mean?
Can you go, so my viewers, I feel like, are very, what's
user experience is, like, you know, UX is basically a discipline that, you know, was built on human factors, and there's different, you know, there's actually different you know, disciplines within it. And there's user interface design. There's user experience designers who are, like, you know, take a user experience approach, but they're design focused on a particular platform, or maybe they're mobile designers. Like, it just depends on. There's a lot of disciplines. I won't bore you guys with that, but that's what UX means. And then what I mean by, what was the other question?
The ISEC, or what did you say after UX? All right, keep going. We'll get back to it. It's fine. You were saying some of the initiatives that you're working on. So building education, building awareness, through, like, these design schools, partnering with UC Berkeley.
Not partnering with UC Berkeley.
So what? Maybe
there was someone that I met at Tulip Conference, actually, that is a as an actual lecturer at UC Berkeley that was interested in creating a UX framework for basically, blockchain sites or decentralized applications on EOS.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that's basically.
But yeah, I guess I'm trying to get at like what are the initiatives? Like you're chosen, right? Like what's step one, right? Like where do you go from there? Like what takes you from your business today to business 6 months from now? Like what are the sort of milestones that you have to reach? Like I'm just
our roadmap.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you go back to our original post in our announcement for block production, we would probably start with education, like I just said.
Yeah.
EOStutorials.com
Yep.
is a site that we have up, and we'd probably put some time into onboarding like entry-level people who are maybe coming from web development or maybe new to EOS and how it works. And we provide a lot of resources on design, and besides that, a lot of security resources through the Ghostbuster EOS Core initiative that Eugene Lisgen works on.
Okay.
And just continue to add value like we have for the last 6 months.
How do you continue to build the community?
Probably for us, I think if you look at our metrics and you look at the things that we've shared and created for the community, we have some of the most viral content in EOS.
Wow.
Through the EOS ecosystem DApp graphic that you saw, that was designed by one of our team members, Raleigh Felton.
Okay.
So, and he's worked for like Chiat Day and some pretty big agencies in his day. He's done some pretty cool design and added a lot of value, I think, to just quelling FUD and people worried about the token at a time where people were super worried and they realized, whoa, look at all these dApps that are coming out, which is what I was speaking to in the first part. That's essentially, well, what is it about? For us, that's how we add value to the ecosystem. We build dApps which create intrinsic value, which actually creates a positive feedback loop in the network. So the more dApps that you have on a blockchain, if you just had a platform with like 5 apps on it, that would be like Apple in its early days. It couldn't compete with PCs because there was much more interoperability and more programs, right? More apps. So could you imagine a blockchain with like 4 or 5 dApps on it? Same thing, right? So it's more. So the more dApps that were, apps back in the day or software that was built on a particular platform like Microsoft, for example, Microsoft stock was worth more. It's the same kind of positive feedback loop, if you can imagine that. If you come from finance, that's what would be. That's basically how that would work, the same way that it would in any kind of economic model.
Okay. No, that's interesting. I mean, it's so exciting to be with you guys and like watching all the developments occur and watching, like you said, emotions. I just see the optimism. It's contagious. It's wonderful to be around it. I feel honored to even be a part of it.
And it's. I know if I'm speaking over some people's head, and what I'm talking about is like. Some of the audience here is just like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what is it? What do you mean dApps? Like, what do you mean positive feedback loop? There's a weird effect in EOS of all communities that I've seen where you're incentivized to do the right thing more than any other community that I've seen. And it actually benefits you. You know what I mean? To help your competitor. You know what I mean? Or for the best interest of the network.
I like that you bring that up because earlier today at the
and not collusion, but just collaboration. Actually,
exactly.
Just like politicians do, they work together to get bills through, and they don't really like each other, or maybe they do like each other, but they generally like try to work together for best interest. That's a little bit broken. I don't think that we're doing that anymore in America.
No, but I mean, earlier today at the conference, there's a panel with basically, it was like 10 block producers, and they're all talking about how they can collaborate. They're inviting each other to each other's meetups, like Dallas EOS is going to Asia and, back and forth. And
Dallas EOS is going to Asia?
I'm just making a sort of example. But no, I mean, like they were collaborating in terms of like going to each other's meetups and like bridging the gap, basically. Like they're trying to help each other. And it was.
I think we're trying to figure out how to use human resources that we have to actually drive adoption. That's actually what's going on.
That's in everyone's best interest.
Straight up. That's what I mean. That's that positive feedback loop. So I don't want to be involved in their business models. I don't want to like be involved. That's the independence that we all like. Like we don't want bosses. I don't want to go join some huge collaborative with like 20 40, 50, 100 people,
Yeah.
that's another big company. I want a
Yeah.
small, lean company.
Yeah.
I think independent block producers that don't have any VC in the background, they're self-funded,
Yeah.
they have the ability to perform, are some of the most
And
potent.
you guys are self-funded, right?
Totally.
Okay.
Not a
100%.
single dime from
Wow.
VC at all.
Yeah.
Every single thing we've done up to this point, the last 6 months, and for Eugene, almost 8 months or a year since he
Yeah.
first started in the community, he was traveling over to the early meetups, some of the first meetups overseas.
Yeah.
You know, I think he went to one in London. He had one of the first meetups in America at EOS SLC.
Okay.
I started.
When was that? When was that?
I think that was of last year, possibly October or prior to that, August maybe.
Okay,
I think
okay.
August was the first date.
Oh,
Get that.
those bugs.
Yeah. It's like
Good
it's
old
like
San
biting both of us.
Francisco.
Like, yeah.
Good old San Francisco.
Yeah. So.
No, I mean honestly, the story is so inspiring, and you know we're gonna keep going. Any advice you have for users that hold EOS tokens? Like, what
If
do they need
it's
to do?
the things you should be thinking about is that positive feedback loop and investing longer term and learning more about the applications and the block producers and how the system works, because that will actually enable you, the guys that you know that got crypto rich and they're balling and they got it all figured out, all they really did is invest wisely in a technology that they understood.
Right.
So don't invest in anything that you don't understand.
Yeah. I hear
Spend
that a lot.
and
I hear
invest
that a
in
lot.
and invest in fundamentals.
Yeah.
You know, look at nothing's changed, guys. Like, what makes a good application or web app that you support? Like, what made Facebook or Google or any of the great companies or the FANG companies that we know, you know what I mean? Like, so great. You know, they deliver for their customers. You know what I'm saying? And the same
Execution.
fundamentals, like, yeah, absolutely. As a finance person, you can appreciate.
Yeah.
That's why I spent a
So,
lot
I
of
mean,
time
that's why-
talking about
yeah.
the DApp
Yeah.
ecosystem and the
Yeah.
role of a block producer, because I
Yeah.
really feel like it's our role to provide tokens, which on EOS are bandwidth.
Right.
Right? So we can provide the liquidity for your DApp to work.
Yeah.
And if us being experienced, we're like a self-funded incubator that actually can provide real traction in a network. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
cool. You know, that's so cool. I always wished I had that when I was starting out as an entrepreneur. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like deep. If you've ever started a business, you can't tell me like a liquid system like that that's so accessible, has a governance layer and all that stuff. When you were, you know what I mean? Your
Yeah.
very first little business you
Yeah.
did, or little
Yeah.
anything you invested in, that would be cool, you know? And that's
Yeah.
the thing you should be getting into as a token holder.
How many businesses have you?
Two or
started, been involved in?
three
Okay.
that I've operated and sold. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't like sold dozens of them, and they weren't huge acquisitions, and they weren't real. You know, they weren't like massive conglomerates. But I did it good in my region. You know, I was able to do good for myself.
Yeah.
And there's something. I serviced a lot of small to mid-sized business. I don't claim to be a big enterprise guy. You know, I have a lot of respect for people that do that, but I've been able to do well for myself without that. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Steve. It was great chatting with you, and yeah, see you soon. See you soon, everyone, too.